So, Sophie Cunningham came out today to talk a little bit about the WNBA media and call out the WNBA media. I do want to apologise. There's not going to be face cam today because, well, I'm dying. I've been sick the last few days. I recorded all my stream last night just so that I could kind of spend the day relaxing and spend it in bed. And, a couple of topics come up that you got to talk about. And Sophie Cunningham decided here she was going to talk about the WNBA media. And let's take a listen to what she said.
I think that there's so much good going on in the WNBA. I think that basketball is being played at the highest level it's ever been. I think that there's so much good going on in the WNBA. I think that basketball is being played at the highest level it's ever been. I think our team in specific, we are breaking history right now with the amount of points that we're scoring on back-to-back games. I think the Minnesota game, there's just so much distraction. I think the WNBA media, all we ever do is cover everything except basketball. And it's what are we doing? There's so much. You can talk about other things. I think those are great stories. I think it shows fans, who people are outside of the court. But I also think we got to keep the main thing the main thing. And I think when it comes to the Minnesota game, I think there is so much distraction. But the matchup between Miles and Kelsey was phenomenal. Our team, that game in particular was a great game. And so I think that there's a lot to be said, and I'm going to let people just do the speaking for themselves. But for me, I want to get back to basketball. It's always been about basketball. That interview happened in February when I was asked a question. And so for me, I just want to, make sure that it stays, the focus stays where it should, because people are playing at such a high level. We have probably 3 MVPs that could be MVPs on our team specifically. And so that's why I want to do that. No, I was asked a question, and that's simply what it was. I just wasn't making a statement to make a statement. And so I was trying to clear the air, and I did that back in February. And so it is what it is. And like I said, we're in the middle of the season. I'm going to keep it that. We talk about a bunch of distraction. Our team is good. My teammates are good. Our locker room is great.
So yeah, Sophie Cunningham decided to call out the WNBA media for let's be completely real, making sure that basketball is never the focus. And I do feel like it is important thing to say, where it's she very much said, okay, yeah, there are going to be other stories, just like there is all the time. There's always going to be other stories. But in these other leagues, it's never about basketball, as well as confirming that the ESPN interview was in February, and they decided to wait until, July to broadcast what she said. Why? Because if there's if they just broadcasted it in February, no one's going to care. Because there was no season. No one knew what was going on, so they waited, 5 months to put it out at a time when Sophie Cunningham was playing the best basketball of her career, when she was viral with the point. So if I'm being real here, ESPN knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing. They knew the shitstorm they were trying to think. Someone said Sophie started all this. So again, Sophie answered a question in February. She answered a question in February, and ESPN, who are the media, waited 5 months until she was going viral and she became ultra popular to release a statement which, whether you or not you believe it's controversial or not, we're not having that argument on this channel. We're just not. At the same time, we are, we have to talk about, and we have to bring up the fact that she was asked a question and she answered it. And I don't think Sophie Cunningham, someone's going to answer a question not truthfully. Because let's be very real, Cheryl Reeve has answered a question the opposite way. And no one has any issue with Cheryl Reeve answering it the opposite way. And, Cheryl Reeve has answered that question the opposite way plenty of times. So, look, it's this whole thing with the WNBA media that, we're an activist league, but we're only an activist for one specific extreme. And we're not a basketball league. And I think the media has made it clear. I think some of the players have made it clear. And there's I put a big caveat on some, because I'm going to be honest. While this controversy is going down, you're seeing Brittany Griner joking with Sophie Cunningham before a game against Connecticut. You're seeing, if these players dislike Sophie Cunningham, I'm going to be very clear. If these players dislike Sophie, it is almost certainly because they're annoyed that the conversation's been shifted and they blame Sophie Cunningham on the conversation shifting. And I think there is some merit to that. But like, I'm being very clear. Like, I don't think people realize is that all these things are stories. But when they overtake the basketball, it becomes a huge problem. And let's be real, like, the entire trade deadline and free agency, they're supposed to be some of the biggest things in sports. And the WNBA media kind of did nothing. There were no insiders, there were no reports, they're so far behind in making a story out of anything. And even as Sophie said, like, Olivia Miles versus Kelsey Mitchell was an unbelievable showdown. But the media turned it into Olivia Miles and Kelsey Mitchell tag teaming as a way of bringing down Caitlin Clark. Like, you can't tell me I'm wrong because I'm not. Like, it is no longer, in the media, it's not Team A versus Team B. It is Caitlin Clark versus the world in the media. And it is, can we team up? And I'm not saying that that's one side, because there's another side of the media that apparently thinks that Caitlin Clark, who didn't play for the first like 12 days of July, and then when she did play, her first game was a 9-point game, then she had a 13-point game and then a 12-point game, or a 12-point game and a 13-point game, saying that it's blasphemous saying Caitlin Clark didn't deserve Player of the Month when for the first 17 days of the month she scored 34 total points. So there are extremes on both ways that will try to pit everyone against Caitlin Clark. And again, they're two sides of the same coin. But it's never basketball. Like, only people understand like how much Caitlin Clark makes Kelsey Mitchell's life easier, how much money Caitlin Clark is directly responsible for Kelsey Mitchell getting. So, but yet both sides of the coin are trying to pit them against each other. At the end of the day, there are times where it's just not going to work out. They're not going to play their entire careers with each other. There's probably going to be a time where money-wise it might not work out, and that might be this off-season. But like, that's a front office fault. If you're at the end of the day, the Fever are much better for both of them. They absolutely are. But yeah, like, I think Sophie's on the money here with the fact that basketball is never the main story. Like, her team came out, she joins the Indiana Fever. Her team came out and had the statement of all statement wins to start the season. DeWanna Bonner became third all time in scoring. And for a week, the media was about investigations because of a Twitter comment and Caitlin Clark flagrantly fouling Angel Reese, which was an obvious flagrant foul. It was a take foul, which is borderline flagrant anyway. And then Caitlin put a little bit extra on it because Angel had just shoved Natasha Howard in the back. So, like, it's something that should have ended there, but that's all everyone talked about after that game. The problem is that there's, outside of Caitlin Clark, not enough people care about players and teams in this league, and I think the league and the media did a really bad job in 2024. They did a really bad job. I think they should have shut up shop, as in most of the WNBA people before 2024 should have been gotten rid of at all these networks, at all these publications. Obviously, you can go reapply for your job, or you can go try get back into WNBA, but you can see it now when you're seeing people that actually, are talking about basketball. Like, in general, like the No Cap Space crew, if you're looking at Hunter Cruz, if you're looking at C-Rat from The Ringer, and then you compare them to some of the shit that's been written by likes of The Athletic, Complex, ESPN about certain players, and it's never just about basketball. And they've done a really, really bad job of it, and they've done a continually bad job of it. So anyway, yeah, that is pretty much it, lads. That is the video. See you guys.